Hey, Know Why listeners. This week on the Know Why podcast, I want to continue to follow the thread that we started pulling on in the last episode. If you remember, I asked whether AI threatens social connection, and I referenced a Teen Vogue article that explored the different ways many college students are using ChatGPT. And we noticed some recurring themes that were also consistent with other reporting on how people are using large language models like ChatGPT, and those themes are using those uh, AIs to chat with as kind of a companion because people don't want to bother or annoy their real life friends, or even using those chatbots for a kind of therapist or at least augment to therapy to wade through mental health issues, and then using AI for feedback, analytical analysis, kind of non-biased responses to work through interpersonal conflicts. And what I argued is that each of these uses of AI, while maybe they seem beneficial or maybe neutral at worst, upon closer examination, they actually reveal a breakdown of a key human relationship, each of those uses. And so I argued that maybe it's not so healthy to use AI in those ways. Now, what I want to continue talking about are a couple of articles that I saw in the Free Press this week. I subscribe to the Free Press. I really like it because their whole MO is highlighting a diversity of opinions and perspectives. So that means there are a lot of thought-provoking pieces at the Free Press, and also some that I disagree with, of course, but I think they give us a lot of food for thought, especially in this case with regard to the issue of AI. So just to give you an overview before I dive in, and I'm going to try to keep this one quick, is I want to ask the question, how might AI impact the future of our social relationships? And we kind of talked about that, like I said, in the last episode. But let's look at some of the arguments that other people are making. Let's look at some of the optimistic arguments about how AI might positively impact our social and emotional lives going forward. And then let's see if those hold up against current evidence. And I really want to help us, again, understand why, to know why. And so I want to look back at what it means fundamentally to be human and why the relationship aspect of our lives matters at all. So let's dive in. The first article that I'm going to highlight was co-authored by Tyler Cowen and Avital Balwit, and it was titled, AI Will Change What It Is to Be Human. Are we ready? This is a very long essay. I recommend reading it. I'll include the URL, and I don't think that it's completely wrong. I think it has some good, potentially true predictions, or at least food for thought about how we need to mentally prepare for some of the changes that AI could bring, including how it may change our jobs and kind of take over some of the intellectual space and eliminate, I won't say the need, but I guess more of the urgent need in the workforce for human intellect, because AI is going to be able to know so much and do so much. If you want to focus more on that aspect of AI in terms of thinking for us and writing for us and doing some of those tasks for us, then go back and listen to the interviews I did with Emily Harrison and Philip Bunn, because that's where we kind of look at the intellectual side of AI. But the relationship aspect is what I want to focus on now. And so there was a section in this essay on more of the relational future that may be coming our way with the rise of AI. And so I want to just quote a passage. And so it's kind of a long passage, but this really tells you what these authors are arguing. And by the way, these authors are both people who are either working in the AI space with some of these big tech companies that are developing the newest and most up-to-date large language models and AI chatbots. And Tyler Cowen is a famous economist and one of the most popular columnists in the US, and has talked about and written about his adoption of large language models and, advanced versions of ChatGPT that he uses personally and even in work and teaching and things like that. So these are people who kind of have their finger on the pulse of what AI is doing currently and capable of. So here's what they say. in this section of their essay. To live a happy and fulfilling life without work, okay, again, assuming that we won't be working as much because of AI, or at least not the kinds of jobs as we were before, one needs meaningful pursuits, social connection, and physical movement. Okay, yeah, we can agree with that. We don't expect any of those needs to go away in a world of AI ascendance. Indeed, those needs will likely become more intense. Group hobbies and projects will proliferate, leading to a growth in sports, clubs, volunteering, religious services, walking, biking, and chasing your kids around too. Human taste will also become more important. We don't doubt that the AIs can show great taste. Just try asking them about the best Mozart recordings. But for so many of matters of taste, the key point is that it be yours. What will matter is the song our mother recommends to us, the song a lover is entranced by, the song your child loves to hear before bedtime. The relative values of those pieces of music will rise to higher levels. As information becomes less scarce, we will seek other qualities from our relationships and douse ourselves in vividness, meaning and emotional connections through interpersonal connections. Giving the ready tap of intelligence, we will place more value on other traits and value people more based on their style, charisma, generosity, kindness, beauty, honesty, or bravery. We will also value other humans increasingly for their secrets and for the rather than the knowledge they hold. AIs are typically trained on knowledge that is fairly generally available. And that makes human wisdom based on that same public knowledge less valuable. But your secrets will take on a special cachet, and sharing and trading them will become an important part of human interaction. More generally, non-legible, esoteric, and hidden forms of knowledge or misinformation, as the case may be, will become more distinctly human. Okay, end quote. So let's go through some of the big things that they argue. That as we're not working and pursuing the same kind of intellectual pursuits as before, thanks to AI, we're going to have more time and more need for true human interaction and connection. And so these are going to proliferate. We're going to be involved in more communal activities, more embodied activities like volunteering and playing sports and going to religious services and hanging out with our families. And these we're going to be connecting with people over the things that matter to us mutually. And we won't necessarily depend on each other for our knowledge because we'll have AI for that, but more of our emotional knowledge or the things that make us unique. Well, I have a few responses to this. One, take away AI and just look at the last decade with the proliferation of more just, I don't know, portable tech like the iPhone, like smartphones, of social media. And so there are other factors that also go into this, but what we have seen is an isolation. People isolating themselves, less involved with community activities. It was a few years ago in 22 or 23, but Gallup released a poll showing that for the first time in our nation's history, less than half of Americans belonged to a church or house of worship. So for the first time, instead of a majority attending weekly religious services, you had a majority not attending weekly religious services. And we know that religion has been in decline. We know that people have fallen for the false promise that social media would connect us, but in reality, what we have is more people who are addicted to their devices and these social media, but they are actually lacking the true, genuine kind of connection that we as humans need, where we actually know one another on a more intimate level and are there for one another. So if that's already the case, and then we have all of that even more prevalent in our lives with AI, which is, if you think that social media algorithms are addicting, and they are, then how much more addicting is a more powerful technology like artificial intelligence potentially going to be? And if we're already trending that way as humans, and if that's kind of what we're already accustomed to, and those are our habits, then I don't think all of a sudden we're just going to snap out of that and say, well, now that AI has taken over our jobs, we're just going to, have these amazing social lives. I don't necessarily think so, because we're already seeing that that's not the case. In fact, what people are seeing is that, yeah, students are using AI to cheat. Even professors are using it. You're seeing more professionals try it out, and you're seeing AI apologists and people in the tech industry very excited about all the, you know, technical capabilities of AI. But for the average person, you're seeing them use it again as that chatbot, as that person to talk to, so they don't have to bother a real person. You're seeing more and more kids talk to chatbots. It's on Snapchat. Facebook is working on a chatbot model, and if you look up the Meta chatbot on the Wall Street Journal, if you Google that, you can find they did a big investigative report on how those chatbots are even targeting minors with sexually explicit content. That's a whole different topic. But you have other studies showing that 1 in 5 U.S. adults have actually used AI chatbots that are for the purpose of simulating a romantic partner. So we are already using the AI versions that we have now, the large language models that we have now, to rob us of the little social connection that we were holding on to after social media. So, and it's not good for us. It's not affecting us in a good way. And so there's another article I want to highlight that talks more about that. But before I move on, I also wanted to note, it talks about basically Cowan and Baldwin argue that the things that are unique to us, something that is a favorite song that you and your friends share, or you and your mom share, or a secret or inside joke between two people, that's going to become more valuable because that's unique to you. It's not just general knowledge, because AI has all the general knowledge. Well, I would even challenge that, because we already know that our original thought is already suffering just because our attention span is so short now because of devices, because of social media. And with AI, that's even more true, because so many people are using it to replace their own critical thought. So if you grow up in, middle school, high school, college, so let's think about people who are little kids now, are being born now, and then they grow up in this world of AI. And some people are arguing it doesn't even really matter that they learn how to write a paper for themselves because AI will do it better. So they never learn how to do that themselves. They're never, the point of writing a paper in school isn't to write this groundbreaking paper argument, because as a kid, you're probably not going to do that. The point is to learn how to think and to form your own thoughts as a person. So if you never go through that process, then you got to ask yourself at the end of the day, are your thoughts really unique? Are they really your own, or were they given to you by an algorithm? Were they given to you by AI? So that's kind of a serious thing that we need to think about. So again, even the argument that, well, AI will have the general kind of intellectual knowledge and we'll have more of the, social, emotional, personal knowledge back and forth with each other. Well, if our lives are inundated with AI even more than they're currently inundated with digital algorithms, then I don't think that's the case. I think that even the things that we think are personal and unique to us are actually going to be influenced and infiltrated by technology companies. So let's go to the next article that I wanted to highlight, though. Another article from the Free Press. This is by reporter River Page, and this article is titled "Your Chatbot Won't Cry If You Die." So I think what he does is he reports on how a lot of people are using chatbots, how popular they're becoming, and the people who are advocating them, again, are saying that they're actually positive. So it's interesting. You have kind of these AI apologists who are saying that AI is going to replace our work, but our social relationships are going to go stronger. Then you have AI apologists saying, well, actually, we are creating chatbots, but chatbots are actually positive, and they're going to help people who don't have social relationships. So there's not really consistent messaging there. But I'm just going to, again, quote a little bit from River Page's report in the Free Press. He says, people who use AI regularly often say one of the benefits is they no longer bore people with their problems or bother people with questions. Again, we've talked about that. We talked about it in the last episode. And then he references Tyler Cowen, the author, one of the co-authors of the essay we were just talking about. Free Press columnist Tyler Cowen wrote last week that he likes asking AI questions about work because it means I don't have to query my colleagues nearly as often. Humans are unpredictable. They might patronize you. They might ignore you. They might manipulate you. The computer won't unless you ask it to. I'm going to get back to that in a second. Perhaps the success of AI companions doesn't merely lie in the human qualities they possess, but those they lack. For Avi Schiffman, another AI entrepreneur, the point of an AI friend is that it doesn't resemble a fallible human. Most people with AI want a kind of godlike relationship in their lives, Schiffman told me. After the slow decline of religion in America, Schiffman believes a lot of people are missing some kind of private, super intelligent, omnipresent confidant that you can converse with, practically praying to. I think that talking to language models feels the most like that kind of relationship rather than a dog or a human friend or something like that. Okay, so I'm going to pause there. That was all a quote from River Page's article in the Free Press. So he is reaffirming what other articles have said, what other research has found, that people are using chatbots more and more, um, not to assist their work, not necessarily to, you know, plan their grocery list, even though people are using it for tasks like that, which I think are some of the more, harmless uses of something like ChatGPT, but they're actually using it to talk to because they don't want to bother people. They are afraid of bothering their friends. They're afraid of burdening the people in their lives with their own personal thoughts. So they will talk to a chatbot instead. And I think it's interesting that there's kind of this craving that we're seeing for somebody that is always available to talk, because let's be realistic. If you have a really, really, really good friend, they might be willing to pick up the phone if you call them at 2 o'clock in the morning, especially if you're having a crisis or something like that. But most of even our very close relationships have boundaries where, we know when it's appropriate or not appropriate to try to reach out or talk to them. And so even the relationships that are very open and very healthy have some sort of boundaries, but we as humans crave somebody we can talk to all the time. I'll come back to that too. So, to quote another thing, or just kind of go over some things that River Page reports on, the person that he was quoting, Avi Schiffman, is actually developing a new AI companion called Friend that is not an app on your phone or something on your computer. It's actually a device you wear around your neck, and it's always around, watching what you do, listening as you go about your day, and sending you text messages ready to talk. So, okay, let's go back to the argument in the first essay I mentioned, that we are going to have more meaningful relationships with real people if AI is taking over more of our work. Well, let's just talk about human nature. We take the path of least resistance. If it's easy for you to go and grab uh, a bag of chips from the vending machine on your break at work, and that's what you're used to doing, then on your lunch break, it's going to take a lot more effort mentally and probably physically to maybe drive around the corner to buy a salad to go, that's going to be healthy and that you're, trying to do to eat healthier. You really have to take a lot of effort and reprogram your brain to overcome what is the easiest and what you're used to. So when you go to approach a person to talk to, yeah, there's the possibility that they're not in a good mood. There's a possibility that they don't pick up the phone or don't answer the text. There's a possibility that you get rejected. And it also does take effort, because not only are you just coming with all of your problems, you're having to also now interact with any problems that they may have, or any quirks or anything that they may have or want to talk about. So that's the harder path. If right now, with without the future of AI, just the now of AI, people are already turning to chatbots to talk to, well, that's becoming the path of least resistance. And so if that becomes more normalized, I really don't think we're going to all of a sudden see this renaissance of human relationship without a lot of effort on our part. And it's definitely not going to be because it's like a positive side effect of more AI prevalence in our world. I think we're going to have to do that in spite of and to push back against the AI prevalence in our world. And it's going to take a lot of intentionality and a lot of effort because as humans, we take the path of least resistance. So many people are already turning to chatbots instead of the real people in our lives. And I think that problem is only going to worsen if we are not careful. And if we're not intentional. Again, River Page points out something that is so important. Researchers believe that part of loneliness comes from the fact that an increasing number of people don't feel needed. We're less essential to our communities. Your friends need you, though. And this is where he's making the point that as great as everybody is trying to make these chatbots out to be, as in, somebody who can give you positive influence and affirmation, reassurance, and validation anytime you need it. It'll even text you first. Okay, but what happens when something happens to you? It it's not gonna care. It can't care. It's not human. It doesn't have feelings. And again, that is so important that we as humans feel needed, even though it's hard. People tend to be happier and more satisfied in their lives when they have purpose, when they have something in people, someone or multiple someones that they are living for, they are working for, that they are providing for. And so, again, this idea that either we won't turn to chatbots, kind of like Tyler Cowen and Avital Balwit are arguing in their essay, or like some of these tech entrepreneurs, AI entrepreneurs are arguing that we are turning to chatbots is actually okay, like it's not a bad thing. Both of those, I think, get it wrong because if we're already turning to chatbots, we're going to continue turning to chatbots because that's the easier path. And it's not good because it's not a real relationship. And it is going to cause us to become even more lonely and isolated. But why? Let's get to the why part. Well, I believe again, it comes down to fundamentally who we are as humans. Tyler Cowen and Avital Balwit say AI will change what it is to be human. So, what I think is that AI will certainly change our experience of life and will change how it might feel to be human, but what it means to be human is immutable, because we are created. We were created by a God and not a God to, so to speak, was a clockmaker and just put all the parts together and set it in motion and then took a step back, but a God who is intimately involved in and interested in our lives. So the Bible says that God is triune. So, in other words, he is the Trinity, and his very nature is relational. So, there is relationship inherent in who God is before anybody else even exists. We were made in the image of God. We need relationship. Jesus says the two most important commandments are to love the Lord your God with all your heart, your might, your soul, and your strength. And I might have misquoted that a little bit, but to love God with everything you have and to love your neighbor as yourself. So two commandments, but three relationships. God, loving our neighbor, but loving our neighbor as ourselves. We can't love our neighbor if we don't love ourselves. And so if you think about it, anything bad that has ever happened to you, any pain that has ever been caused, any injustice in the world, it all can be traced back to a breakdown of a human relationship, of humans treating each other badly, even humans treating themselves poorly. Because we may think that what we do to ourselves doesn't have an effect on other people, but it does. Because again, we are interconnected and we are meant to have a healthy relationship with ourselves as well as God and as well as with other people. So whenever there's a breakdown in any of those relationships, there is a ripple effect in society. Why do we crave somebody that we can talk to 24/7, that is always going to respond? And why are there people who are seeing a need for a device like Friend, which is an AI thing that lives around your neck and will text you that you can just talk to anytime? Um, it's because we were created for a relationship with God, somebody who the Bible says never sleeps, somebody who is always listening to our prayers, and somebody that, again, is accessible anytime. Why do we feel the need to, you know, talk to anybody at all? It's because we have a relationship with other people. Why are we sad when we're more isolated and we're connected online, but we're not connected in embodied ways, like going to church or being part of a club or volunteering in our town, or we're connected with family somehow? It's because we need to be needed. Yes, we need to have somebody that we can talk to anytime. That's our primary need with God, but we also need to be needed by other people. And if we reflect God, if we are made in his image, well, God is a provider. God is a giver. God is dependent upon. And so again, that's part of how we show God to other people. We show God to the world by being dependable, being generous, being there, providing for other people. A friend depends on friend. The needy depend on the rest of community. There are so many Bible verses too that just talk about the importance of being there for one another, of if one friend falls down, another one is there to pick him up. And the strength that there is in numbers. And that's such a theme throughout the Bible. It's clear, if you are willing to consider a Christian worldview, it's clear what humans need and what we crave and what we were created for. And again, I think it even goes back to some of the intellectual pursuits, because if we want to have a healthy relationship with others, we need to have a healthy relationship of ourselves. And primarily that comes from understanding, how God sees us and what he says about us. But he also gave us brains and minds and imaginations, and we can't even learn ourselves. We can't learn about all the gifts that God has given to us if we don't take the time to think for ourselves. And I think even that is being robbed in our modern age. So we don't know God. We don't know ourselves. We're isolated from the other people that we need in order to thrive and to feel like we have purpose. And we're unhappy. And I don't think that the very thing that is driving a lot of those problems is going to turn around and fix it in the future and all of a sudden cause us to be more connected and more fulfilled. Um, I just don't think that's realistic. Maybe I'm wrong. I definitely could be, but that's my take based on the reading I've done and the wonderful experts that we've talked to in this series on the No I podcast. I think I came back to all the things I said I was going to come back to, but I wanted to leave with the final quote. This is actually something that popped up this week. I saw on Facebook. Well, there you go. I was on social media, right? But there was a professor who posted this. He said, I just failed a student for submitting an AI written research paper. And she sent me an obviously AI written email apologizing, asking if there is anything she can do to improve her grade. We are through the looking glass, folks. Okay, and so a writer, Samuel James, he runs the Substack Digital Liturgies and has written opinion columns for multiple publications. He responded with this quote that I'll leave you with. The school will care mostly about the AI written paper, but actually the bigger deal is the AI written apology. In the last few years that I've spent reading and writing about the digital age, I've become convinced that the interpersonal effects of all this technology are actually more significant than the intellectual effects. Losing your ability to read a book is bad. Losing your desire to talk to another person is worse. Generative AI is at its most threatening when professional and academic stakes are at the lowest. The worst effects of the 2010s were not felt among writers and pastors who got sucked into Twitter debates or people who got misinformed on Facebook. The worst effects were and are felt among the 5-year-olds who were gifted iPads to keep them busy. It's not AI research that's the most urgent question. It's AI apologies, AI friends, AI love letters. Forgetting how to write a paper is one thing. Forgetting how to be a person is something else. So if at our core we are created for relationship with the creator of the universe, with other people, and healthy relationship with the knowledge of ourselves, and all of those things are broken down and we aren't even able to communicate with each other anymore without the aid of a computer to formulate our thoughts. We don't know our own thoughts because we've used a computer to think for our whole lives, and we've replaced the God that we're supposed to be praying to with a computer to talk with. Then we have really lost sight of what it means to be humans, and we're not going to be happy. That's what I'll leave you with until next week on the Know Why podcast.